Hey everyone, welcome to the Commissioner's Clubhouse and the LCC Network for 2019, our 10th year of existence as a fantasy league, which is a huge milestone for most fantasy leagues. But with us today, we got Jameson, like always, and we have added a third host for the offseason, none other than Isaac. Welcome, guys. How's it going?
What's up?
Good. Glad to be back. We took a week off for the holidays, but we are back. We'll be here every single week, once a week leading up to September. So I'm excited. So a quick rundown of what we got today. So here on the show, we've got some announcements. We've got a review of the LCC Championship game, draft, and free agent steals and busts over the season. And then we've got some rule proposal discussion. We're going to be doing that at the end of every episode through January. And I guess that runs us right into our announcements. I'll just run through these real quick before we start. Rule proposals are due January 15th. They're on the message board. So get on there, get posting. We're going to be on there soon. Have you guys posted yet, Pat or Isaac?
No,
I haven't. No, not yet.
Yeah, me either. I'm waiting.
Okay, yeah, I haven't done mine yet either. I'm going to get it on there soon. So the first quarter of the off season, people are kind of wondering what it's going to look like. So it's going to be a lot of review of 2018, owners, players, stats, etc. We'll be playing games. We'll be breaking down 2018 before we jump kind of head first into 2019. And we haven't even got the NFL playoffs started yet. So we want to kind of get through that before we jump into too much of the 2019 stuff. We're also continuing our work on our projections, combing through data almost every single day. We're starting to see some results. We've still got a lot of work to do, so we'll keep you posted. We're also working on our sound drops. We'll be adding a lot of those and some segments throughout the off season.
Oh yeah.
And which is going to be awesome. And finally, we had a lot of views on our last show where we had a lot of the voice messages. We want this to be as inclusive as possible, so we're going to be trying to do more of that throughout the off season, getting people on the show, whether it's as a host or as a voice memo on a segment or something. So if you guys want to jump in on any of that, feel free to shoot us text. We'd love to have you on. So
I will say I did sound very disappointed and sad when I re-listened to it in my little voice note. It sounded like my heart got broken or something.
You sounded devastated. In fact, I think you made a comment about it. Like I could just see your eyes like watering up, like in my head. You just sounded like horrible.
It sounded like your puppy died. Like, I mean,
I mean, I really had no. I mean, I was upset because I felt like I should have won, but like I said, kudos to him.
Yeah. 2 weeks later, Isaac's still a little salty about it. 3 weeks later.
Yeah, almost a month.
Yeah,
almost a month. I'm still salty about mine too. It happens. So all right, so we'll jump into the championship game real quick. It's been a few weeks. Everyone knows what happened, but so we had Cody beat Billy 317 to 263. Not as close as we thought it was going to be, Patrick. I know we talked about it on the show.
I know, man.
Not even close. Cody back-to-back champion.
It's just crazy because like going into Sunday, I remember we're in Charlotte, we're tailgating, and we're looking at ourselves like, dude, Billy might actually pull this thing off. And even I was talking to Jordan and Cody about it after the game was over, or after the 1 o'clock games were over. I'm gonna drive back to Charleston, and they were like, dude, we really thought Billy was gonna walk away with it. And God, man, like it was just another classic LCC championship beatdown. Little Critter Bowl beatdown.
Yeah, he got off to a great start, but I mean, you can't. I mean, we knew going in you had to go over 300 to beat Cody. You had to, and Billy slowed down in the later part of the afternoon, unfortunately for him. So Billy had 4 players finish below 17 points, which you don't want in a championship week, and Cody only had 2 players finish below 17. Adam Thielen kind of bit Billy again there with 16 points, and Amari Cooper, who basically carried him through the playoffs, only got 8 points that day. So it was not a good day for Billy's receivers all the way around. On the other side, Cody had 5 players with 33 points or more. Billy only had 2. So that's where you kind of saw that kind of take place. And then Cody's defense, he had 5 players, outscored Billy's 5 defensive players 191 to 129, which is a 62-point spread, which is more than the spread of the game. So that's really, I think, what it came down to was the defense for those guys. So anything you guys want to add to this?
Yeah, I was going to say, you know all about some Amari Cooper, don't you, to the playoffs?
I hate Amari Cooper with every ounce of my existence forever. And if he ever listened to this podcast, I would have let him know. I'll square up with him. I mean, he'll knock me out, but I want him to know how much I hate him forever. I drafted him in my office league too, and I dropped him about halfway through the season. And another guy picked him up and beat me in the playoffs with him, just like Billy did. So I really hate Amari Cooper. Yeah, it was a double whammy. So I don't like him a lot at all. Is there anything else you guys want to add? I mean, Cody went back to back. I mean, that's only happened, 3 times?
I will say this. If we're in the, there was videos that used to come out in high school. I don't know if they still do it, but it was like the NFL. Well, this is fantasy FL. If I would have beat Billy last time we played in the playoffs, I would have outscored Cody in the championship game, and I would be the one with my name on the plaque. But that's the FL.
Yeah, it's hard to do that because then it's hard to set your lineup after that every week because then if I had just won that game, I would be the champion, and then it just eats at you all off season. So I try not to even do that when I get knocked out for that reason. I don't want to have to relive it over and over.
It was very painful, honestly.
And over.
I really did feel like my puppy died on that one.
Yeah, that voice memo, man. And not to talk about it again, but I remember saying something on the show we could feel the pain, from that message. It was I don't know, it was funny, but it was also sad at the same time.
So one thing I'd like to add, some of the stuff kind of went unnoticed because we didn't have, the week right after the Little Quarter Bowl to talk about it, but at the end of the postseason, most people probably don't even realize this, but Cody right now is second for the all-time postseason wins in league history with 9. Jade has 10. He is 1 win away from tying Jade, 2 away for surpassing him for postseason wins. Now, we haven't done Hall of Fame totals yet for this season to see kind of where everyone stands in the race to get there, to be the second team to get into the Hall of Fame. But I would imagine if Cody isn't in the top 3, he's definitely close for sure. Because, the past 2 years, his team's just been phenomenal in kind of what they've been able to accomplish. In fact, right now, he's got the second highest winning percentage in league history in the postseason, and which is crazy. And for teams that have been in the league since 2010, he's actually first. The only team that has a higher winning percentage than him is Ryan, who's actually Cody's cousin, who used to be in the league for about 3 years. He was in the league. His winning percentage was 1,000, but that's only because he played 3 postseason games. Cody's played 10, and he's only lost 1. So, that says a lot for kind of what he's done just the past 2 years. If you take away the past 2 years, his team is his franchise history is subpar at best. But you got to give it to Cody and what he's achieved. He's basically pretty much established a dynasty here in the past 2 years. He's been a force to be reckoned with in the top shotas. Just really ran away with, I felt like, the draft, the offseason free agency, the regular season free agency. It's like Cody came in and was the only one that knew anything that was going on. It's crazy. How head over heels better he's been than everyone else in that conference the past 2 years, which is good. He won consistency. When we look at Billy, though, man, I think about how far he has come since his first year in the league. When he came the same year you did, Isaac. You look at a team. I think he won 2 or 3 games his first year, and now he's made back-to-back playoff appearances. He won the Elite 12 championship. The man he got his first division title, and probably one of the toughest years to be in that division was definitely this year. you really can't say enough about what it took for Billy to get there. And even though I know his team kind of fell apart there at the very end, you can't take anything away from him because he did have a phenomenal season.
Yeah, that actually leads us into our next segment. But real quick, one more quick stat about these guys. Billy owns the league high score in a single game, which he got this past season, 398 points, which I thought was interesting. Cody is the only LCC player ever, active or inactive, to reach 20,000 career points in the LCC league. So he's the first one there. Nobody else, Jade, you, anyone else has ever got there. So I thought that was interesting. Anything else we want to add before we move on?
No. Another fun fact. Cody, this season with combined regular season and postseason wins, right now he's tied for fourth most wins all time at 63. He's tied with Jade right now. Above him is Cameron with 65. Then my dad was 65. And then myself was 70. So Cody, like I said, the past 2 years, man, it's like totally made up for for everything else before then.
Yeah, fun fact to cover all the fun facts. Any good stat over the last 2 years, Cody probably owns it. So, so we'll just like cover it all like a giant umbrella there. So that actually kind of segues into our next segment here. I wanted to talk about like expectations from some of the owners this year and which ones exceeded those and which ones didn't. And so we don't have a lot of top shotters in here because there weren't many that stood out that I thought crushed expectations or didn't. I mean, all the teams that we expected to be there were there, and all the teams that weren't, we kind of expected not to be. So there wasn't a whole lot of surprises. But we already talked about Billy. So getting his first playoff win, representing the Elite 12 in the LCC Championship, going all the way, there, and just his third year, I think, is what we talked about, his third year. But the thing I like about Billy and the way he is as an owner is how active he is. Not only the waiver wire, but trades, which is a very aggressive approach because you never know how trades are going to turn out at all. But he's never shied away from jumping into a trade and trading away picks and players to try to make his team better.
You got to risk it to get the biscuit.
Do what?
You got to risk it to get the biscuit.
That's your motto from last season when you took
except for the Kamara trade for Amari Cooper.
Except for what?
The Kamara for Amari Cooper trade, that did not work out.
Who did that?
Me and Peyton. At the end of 2017.
Man, Isaac, you should have been on the last show where we talked about the worst trades we've ever done. I didn't know you did that one. That is really bad.
Because Pat, what was so funny was Pat, when I asked him what he thought about it, he said, dude, you're getting a steal. Like, Kamara's going to be nothing. Cooper's going to be, he's a great receiver. And you see how that turned out.
Wow, Pat, was that honest advice, or were you just trying to screw a division rival?
No, at the time, you really got to think about it. At the time, people weren't laughing at Derek Carr and their entire offense like they do today. At the time, Kamara, man, he wasn't a household name yet. To be honest with you, he was just now getting on the scene. So
he had 2 or 3 good games, and I just cashed in on his good games, hoping that I would get somebody long term that would be better.
And that's how I think too, Isaac. I don't think the next 3 weeks, man. I think like a year, 2 years out. You know what I mean? And I felt like at the time I just liked his situation better. But it's just I don't think anyone expected Gruden to gut that entire roster right as the season was beginning. I mean, I'm not saying that played a factor into the Raiders' offense being as poor as it was because their defense sucked too. But I don't know, man. I would have done the same thing, but obviously it didn't work out the way either one of us thought it would.
Yeah. I forgot I was going to say something. I completely blanked. But it happens. We talked about it last time. I had the trade where I declined the Todd Gurley trade. So I was like, oh, he's a bust. He's not gonna pick it back up after his rookie season. Blah blah blah. And now I don't have a running back, and I never have had a running back because of that. I kept Carlos Hyde, who is now the backup for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
And you got so excited when you got Fournette, and he was a dud this year.
Well, I kind of had a feeling he's injury prone, so I kind of had a feeling, but at the very least, I thought he would do okay. But he might not even be a Jaguar next year, so I don't know what I'm going to do with that guy.
And then Freeman went down. I mean, you were on the struggle bus with running backs this year.
Yeah, I got out from the Freeman thing, luckily enough, though. But yeah, I haven't had a good running back in like ever.
Never.
Ever. In fact, I can ruin an NFL. I can ruin an NFL or an NFL running back's career if he's traded to me in fantasy. Any of them. Like I could wreck Todd Gurley. Like if you traded him to me, he would destroy his ACL next season and he'd never play football again. I guarantee it. I could find a way to make it happen. But
or with me, Kareem Hunt, kick a woman and get kicked out of the league.
Yeah, that was a shocker. No one expected that.
I'm having a pretty bad trend myself, so hopefully it stops and ends here.
Well, you can do what you always do. Just draft 8 running backs in the rookie draft.
Hey, one's bound to be good.
Well, you got Philip Lindsay, and he looks like he's the real deal. So that's good. Anyway, we're off track. But yeah, so Billy, he trades a lot. He traded for Zeke, which was a great deal. He got Amari Cooper on the waiver wire. I mean, I like what he does there. So
let me just tell you, recap kind of where our mindset was pre-2018 draft about Billy's team. I mean, we gave him an F at quarterback rating because he didn't have a quarterback, and realistically, I'd still probably give him an F at the end of the season at quarterback because of the fact he started Matthew Stafford the majority of the year.
Lamar Jackson did carry him through.
Correct.
And that's another episode. So we'll save that discussion for another episode.
Yeah, but I mean, you just look at, we had him finishing dead last in that division. His best possible record that we had him at between the three of us was 7-5, and worst was 6-6. So we kind of saw Billy as a good middle of the road team, but none of us expected Billy to just kind of tear through the Elite 12 the way they did. I guess really tearing through all three of us on the show right now.
Yeah, and speaking of the analysis, I just want to say we nailed like 9 of the 12 teams in our conference this year, like within like a game or two. Like we not to like pat ourselves on the back or anything, but I feel like we crushed it for the most part. Billy, we got his record, right for the most part. We just didn't think he'd go that far, but he did a good job.
No,
he did a really good job.
We gave his overall rating anywhere between a C to a B-. And it was because the quarterback rating killed him. And it really hurt him the majority of the year. When you look at some of the bad games he had, it was because Matt Stafford was just not being able to pick up the team where there were other holes. So
he was garbage.
Garbage. That's French. I like the French. Garbage.
Yeah, it is.
So another player here that we didn't, at least I didn't have high expectations for, was your dad, Pat John. So first playoff appearance since 2015. Not only did he get in, he earned himself a bye. He has a lot of young talent and depth. So, David Johnson, CMC, Deion Jones, Stephon Diggs. I mean, he's got a lot of young talent there that I think can be really good. He plays in a really competitive division, with you guys. So I didn't think he would have a chance. I was like, at best, I gave him maybe 5-7, 6-6. But to win 10 games in that division and go all the way to a bye, I mean, I think he exceeded expectations this season.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we had him finishing anywhere between 7-5, 6-6, and we totally trashed his defensive ratings just because he had no defense going into the draft. But I mean, I said it going in, like I really felt like the injury loss, which we all knew, Deion Jones, that killed the Falcons and Eastside Brawlers. But then, man, when he got in the playoffs, I really thought, he could have carried him, but unfortunately, he didn't get a chance to get past Isaac. So,
Isaac's probably glad to hear you stop talking about your dad and beating everybody in the league when he got in the playoffs.
And how good Christian McCaffrey is. Yeah. How good he is.
Well, Christian McCaffrey, he still is. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I saw Fantasy Footballers. I don't know if anyone listening has ever watched them. They had him ranked as a top 5 fantasy running back for 2019. So, and that was half PPR. That's not even a full PPR ranking they were doing. So, man, I'd put him up there, top 3, probably the best in PPR formats like ours.
Yeah, he's gonna be a monster. He carried me in my office title. But it's funny that people that like, it's never been talked much on the show, but in our we text a lot, between the three of us, and they don't know. Like Isaac always has such a visceral reaction when you mention your dad's name. Like
he does.
From week 10 on, like every time you mention him, and we got a text, he's like, "Quit talking about it," like rolling his eyes and all sorts of stuff. Like every single week, it was so funny. Like every podcast you listened to, everything, it was so funny.
And what was crazy was I'm sitting here fighting with Pat trying to win this damn title, and then we both lose, and Pat's dad comes out of the middle of nowhere and wins the division, and I'm just in shock. Like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah, he stuck up.
Dude, oh my God. And the crazy thing is we had him finishing dead last in the division, but we still had him at a good record at 7-5, 6-6. I mean, a wild card team. But we didn't even consider him for a divisional title. We knew our division was going to be close. Basically, 2 games or a game separating the worst and the best team in our division. But, man, I don't think we knew it was going to be as close as it ended up being, for sure.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
So both those guys. The playoffs, though.
But so John and Billy, congrats on exceeding expectations. So 2 teams that did not meet expectations. We got one from the Top Shaunas and one from our conference, Elite 12. So we'll start with our conference. I put Peyton in here because he was our favorite to win the conference at the very beginning of the season. We predicted him 9 or 10 wins. He only won 6 games, failed to make the playoffs. Finished last in his division. I think was he last or was he second? It was close between him and Cameron. I don't remember off the top of my head. But what made it so shocking?
I believe Cameron was bottom because he got the second overall pick next year.
That's true.
Cameron finished dead last in the division.
Okay, yeah. So he was second to last, so middle of the pack in his division. But what made it so shocking was the talent. I mean, he had Deshaun Watson, Saquon Barkley, Alvin Kamara. Was it Keenan Allen? Or no, he had
Odell Beckham
later after the trade with Jay.
Odell Beckham,
Bobby Wagner. I mean, Jared Goff. These were guys that
Roquan Smith.
I mean, these were guys that Melvin Ingram. I mean, he was supposed to be. That's a ton of talent. So it's amazing to me that he didn't win more games. He was only middle of the pack in scoring. What happened to his team?
I really think is his team at the beginning of the year. He started off like first 2 games, he was fine, and then it just started going downhill. But at that point, he wasn't active. Yes, he was in the waiver wire, but he did not try to trade away some of those big name guys for guys that are actually producing. Sometimes you can't get stuck up on the name of the person. You have to go off of what the production is. Are they productive? If not, get them out of there, or get somebody else that will be productive for you.
Well, and my thing was too, I knew it was a bad trade from the start. The moment I saw him trade Odell Beckham Jr. for Ezekiel Elliott, I was like,
vice versa. Traded Zeke for OBJ.
Yeah, sorry, that's what I meant. Yeah, he traded for OBJ, and I'm like, did he just do that? Like, it doesn't matter what kind of format your PPR, half PPR, standard. OBJ is never in any circumstance better than Ezekiel Elliott. It does not matter. Like, I was just shocked when he did that. And I'm telling you, man, that was a difference maker.
But to defend him with that, he was trying to make room for Barkley. He knew that he had that number 1 pick, and he knew who he was going to get with that rookie draft.
Yeah.
He already had Kamara. You're not going to start 3 running backs. He was trying to trade the lesser of the 2 between Kamara and Elliott. And I like Kamara better personally. So he traded away Elliott. Did he trade away the correct receiver? Hell no, because I'm not a big fan of Odell. But he's a big Odell fan personally. I mean, he showed up to the draft with a Barkley and Odell jersey on.
Yeah, I did. At the very least, you got to give him credit for for believing himself that much to trade away a player like Ezekiel Elliott. Like, I don't think I would have had the guts to do something like that. I'm way too conservative of a fantasy football player to do that. I give him
football player probably ended his. He probably would have ended his career if he would have been on your team.
Oh yeah, he would have got torn ACL or got suspended for 7 more games or something. I would have found a way to ruin him, no doubt.
I mean, when you talk about the just overhyped teams, we had him worst possible scenario. We had Peyton at 9-3. Very worst possible scenario, 9-3. Dude, we were first of all ballsy to say that about any team in the league. Second of all, if you look at our pre-draft roster ratings for him, he had B's everywhere except on defense. He had an F on defensive line, so he didn't have any. He had a D plus at linebacker, because I think he had one guy off of waiver wires, off-season waiver wires that he picked up. And we gave him a C at DB. Yeah. And I'm telling you, that defensive rating kind of reflects in the regular season when you look at how his team kind of fell apart.
Yeah, I think, luckily for him, though, I think he can bounce back. He's got a lot of talent, assuming they all stay healthy. I think brighter days are ahead for Peyton, in my opinion. That division's always up for grabs. It's not like someone runs away with it every year. So I think he's got a shot for next season.
But he's got to put more of an effort in, like a Billy that's going to try to make these risky trades and hope to turn things around. He made that one with Odell. That was it. And that was before the season, if I recall correctly. So it was during the season he was sleeping. He just wasn't doing anything.
Just keep doing your thing, Peyton. You'll get there, man. You'll get there. He's still a kid. He's still a young guy. So finally, we'll wrap this up pretty quickly here so we can do our rule proposal discussion. Last one, so we got Jordan. I said that he fell a little short. I was expecting at least 7 wins from him. He had won his division, I believe, the last 2 seasons, if I'm not mistaken, at least the season before. Like, he had been a playoff regular, I feel like, for the last few years. And very similar to Peyton, he had a very good roster. Watson, Barkley, Mixon, Jarvis Landry, Jesse Bates, Quan, Melvin Ingram. He had a lot of players that, similar to Peyton, I feel like could have carried him all the way to the playoffs, but he just didn't seem to get everything clicking in the right order this season.
I will say Jordan did hit the trade for Watson and Kareem Hunt when it was Daquan's wedding and it was his after party. He was talking to Matt trying to figure out what's a trade, and they decided on that. And, that was a steal with Hunt's whole his whole future in jeopardy. It's like Watson's going to be the guy. He's like an angel, doesn't do anything. So
yeah. Maybe Jordan released that tape of Kareem Hunt kicking the girl. He got out right before it happened. I'm kind of sketchy now, Jordan. I'm on to you, man. I'm watching.
Well, I will say this, one team we didn't talk about as a team that kind of fell short of expectations, but I've got to say it, Mr. 300 Colby, he made the playoffs, don't get me wrong, you can't say he didn't have a good year because he did make the playoffs, but his team, man, took a nosedive towards the end of the year and only scoring barely over 4,000 points. That says a lot, too. Dude, Mike outscored Colby, and Mike won 5 games.
Yeah, that's true.
That says a lot.
True. I didn't think about Colby, but I kind of shied away because he got in the playoffs. But compared to last season, he was nowhere near as good as he was the year before.
And the 3 of us talked about it. I remember the 3 of us looked at their draft results, and we were kind of like, all right, who are the big dogs this year and the top shotters? And we all kind of said, I feel like Colby may have taken a step back, but we still felt like his team was still a playoff contender.
It seems like Cody, did he pay everybody off to get all these players? It's like he had a Pro Bowl team of fantasy.
Cody and Jordan are in cahoots. Jordan's releasing videos. Cody's paying people off.
Kareem Hunt. The Kareem Hunt conspiracy.
We're watching you guys. I know you're listening to this right now. We're watching you. But those are just the players that kind of came to mind, and I want to discuss it. I think Peyton and Jordan are still on good grounds for the future. Billy and John, I think they'll take a step back, although they're still playoff contenders if they play their cards right. So, all right, cool. So we'll wrap this up. We've got probably 12 minutes or so left, 10 minutes. We'll do some rule proposal discussion. So every week I'm okay with talking about anyone's rule proposals they want to put out there. If they want a platform to discuss it, maybe they feel like they don't want to just post it and have people interpret it wrong or anything like that. So to start, we wanted to kind of discuss some of ours, before we get them out there. So I guess I'll kind of jump in first. I want to implement, and I think my fantasy league already has this. We just haven't activated it. Is a FAB system, FAAB, and what that stands for is free agent acquisition budget. So basically, what it would do
Jameson,
would be replace the waiver wire, the weekly waiver wire.
Like you.
Do what?
Oh, you went out for a second on my end, so I'll just make sure you're still there.
Oh, yeah. I'm still here. So I'll kind of back up a little just in case. So it's a FAB system, free agent acquisition budget. It's a system that will replace the waiver wire. I think it's a little outdated. I'm tired of the order. I'm tired of having to save my waiver wire pick and hope that I can get a guy 1 week when something happens. So what a free agent acquisition budget is everyone starts the season with a certain amount of fake money or credits. It doesn't matter. Usually it's a round number like 100 because it's easy to do the math. And then every week on the waiver wire, if you want a player, you bid on him instead of waiting for the waiver wire order. So you could bid whatever you want, a 1 credit, 100 credits, anywhere in between, it doesn't matter, but you only have 100 credits for the entire season. And whoever gets the highest bid wins that player, but gets those credits deducted from their account, so they lose those credits for the season. So you got to be very careful about who you bid on. And if nobody's, and whoever isn't picked up off of the free agent system, the next day, just like waiver wires, it goes into add drop, where it's free to add drop people. So it's the same system overall. It would just be, instead of doing waivers where you have to be in an order, it would be bidding on players every week that you want. So it's kind of it's more of a fair system for everybody, and you don't have to. I mean, everyone's done it. I've been 8th on the list before, and a guy goes down, and I'm like, all right, I'm not going to be able to get his backup because I'm 7 spots back. But everyone wants a free shot at those guys. So I think this would be something that everybody would like. I don't think it's very controversial. I think everybody would benefit from it. And I think it would be fun because it has a lot of strategy involved. If you see that a guy only has 10 credits left and he's going to pick up a running back, you can bid 11 credits for that running back to take him from that guy so you can't get him. So there's a lot of strategy that would be involved in it. And I think it'd be fun to play that way. So,
yeah, I'm all for that, man.
Yeah.
We've, obviously we're in that chat together, and we're all for this budget. It's something new. The way things are going right now. I mean, I don't feel like I should be punished for being active on the waiver wire.
Exactly.
But people that never on there and that go on there once in their lifetime and just happen to get, a great player, I don't like what we have now. So I'm definitely down for what you proposed.
Yeah.
I guess, Jameson, one thing I want to clarify so that everyone really gets at what you're saying. Are you saying you want to implement the FAB system only for the regular season? And are you saying or are you saying just the off season, or are you saying both? And then also to complement that, are you suggesting using only FAB for free agency transactions?
So to clarify, I was talking primarily about during the season. So week to week, instead of using a waiver system, using the FAB system, it can be used in the off season as well. When we do our 4-week waiver wire before the season starts, we could utilize it then too, but I feel like it's probably a little more complicated. And I think a weekly FAB system during the season might make it easier for people to kind of warm up to the idea instead of the waiver wire. But I was talking primarily during the season, like week to week. But if people wanted to, we could certainly utilize it in the off season as well during those 4 weeks where we do the waiver wire pickups. Because right now it's all order based, but if you have the waiver wire, or if you have the FAB, it would all be bidding based. And if you tie on a bid, it basically reverts to whoever has the lowest overall record, like any other platform does. So if that clarifies.
Yeah, I would suggest whenever you do post that rule change, make sure that it's hard set, like all all of the stuff because we're going to talk about it a little bit with one of Isaac's that he's going to bring up. There's one rule change from last year that we did not clarify. We did not go into enough detail. There's a huge hole in that rule, and we have to vote on that this year to fix that. But
I'll definitely, I just wanted to kind of talk about it a little bit. We'll get it out on the message board. But Isaac, if you'll go ahead, we've got, probably 5 to 10 minutes left. So if you want to go ahead and run through yours pretty quick.
Oh, yeah. All right, fellas, I got 2 today. One, as during the season last year, we saw a lot of these edge rushers. Yeah, they'll have some great boom games. They'll get 2 sacks or whatever, and then the rest of them, it's like, are they even playing? Well, one of my rule proposals is these guys that are in these 3-4 rushers. So like your Khalil Mack, your Von Miller, your Nick Chubb. Not Nick Chubb. What's his name?
Bradley Chubb.
Bradley Chubb. There you go. They're cousins, whatever Chubb that is. These guys, I feel like instead of them being forced in a linebacker spot, because these guys don't get that many tackles. It's usually sack or bust. So somehow moving them and starting them in the D-line section. So my rule proposal is these 3-4 edge rushers, move them from linebacker to D-end, and then just let people decide if they want to either start, a D tackle, or they could start an edge rusher, or they could just start an edge tackler. Not every edge rusher gets sacks. Trying to think of one. Everson Griffin usually gets a lot of tackles, but not too many sacks. Or like a DeForest Buckner, sometimes he'll go outside and go inside. So I really feel like doing this, these players have more value, and you're not stuck starting these guys you don't really know in your D-line spot.
I'm cool with that.
Like Pat said, what you, Pat?
Sorry, wait. What?
No,
sorry. Both of you talking.
Sorry, no, I was just saying I'm cool with that. Guys like T.J. Watt, making them valuable in a defensive line spot instead of a linebacker. Because I would never start T.J. Watt in a linebacker spot. It's way too risky. But if he was in a DL, I would definitely start him. So that's a cool rule.
Exactly.
I'm cool with that.
And then at that point, if somebody gets traded during the year and they move from a 4-3 to a 3-4, it wouldn't matter because they're still going to be an edge rusher. It's like you're starting an edge rusher at your D end. So at that point, we wouldn't have as much issue like that Khalil Mack when I was arguing, oh, well, he lines up on D end all the time. Why is he considered a linebacker? Well, this rule will change that.
Okay.
I guess.
Go ahead, Pat.
I feel like that rule definitely 1,000% complements the rule proposal I'm going to say after your next one. I think what it's gonna do is add a ton of depth to the DE spot or the entire defensive line spot. It's gonna add a ton of depth. In fact, with our current format, it may add so much depth to where there's just a ton of these high-scoring defensive linemen, and it takes away from the linebacker spot a little bit. But no, I think it'll definitely complement, though, for sure, the one I'm going to say once you're done with this next one.
All right, so like Pat said earlier, one thing that was passed last year is the keeper rule. I was against it, but it passed, and it started with 3 years a player you can have with the additional 4th year if you want to use a franchise tag. One thing that we did not clarify, does the 2017 season count as their first year and 2018 counts as their second year? So a lot of players, like for me, I had Aaron Rodgers last year and this year. So do I get to have him for 2 more years or 1 more year? Me personally, when I voted, I thought that it was 2018. Like moving forward, this player counts against you every single year up to 3 years with the potential of 4. But we were not very specific when this rule was proposed, so we kind of need to clarify because, as we know, this is the off season and we're going to have keepers this year.
Yeah, and this really isn't even just like an Isaac rule proposal. Like this is something the league as a whole. We need to figure out what we're going to do with it. I mean, I'm personally fine with it either way, but my personal thought is like I feel like 2017 should count. I get maybe that's just the way my brain thinks about it.
Weird.
No, I think what it does is it accurately takes into account the fact that we did have keepers the year prior, and it doesn't entirely erase that. So that's just, I mean, I'm fine with either way, though. Me personally, I mean, what if you vote to count 2017? Essentially, what you're doing is accelerating the process of where players are going to fall into the draft pool, which would be, like I said, you'd be boosting it by a year. If you vote no, then you're just pushing it back an extra year. I mean, that's what you're looking at.
But another thing with that is you could also trade a player in your quote unquote contract year, and at that point it would start over for that new person that had him.
Right.
So
correct.
You can't assume that everybody's going to be in free agency, because some people might not ever hit there because they're traded before they're actually released because of the contract being up.
Right. I mean, yeah, you're right. You're right. I mean, based off the current rules, I'm going to talk about this in another week's episode. I'm actually, one of my rule proposals is to exterminate that whole rule. I believe that when a player is transferred, you should take on their contract as well, just like the real NFL does. But again, we'll get into that later. I feel like I'm talking too much right now. I'm taking up too much time.
All right, Pat. If you'll go ahead and jump into your last one.
Yeah. Let me jump into this, because this isn't just a rule change. Essentially, everyone remembers the IDP rule change that totally redefined this fantasy league. People remember the expansion from 12 teams to 16 teams that totally redefined the league, because it also brought in the PPR format, which we now operate under, which we've been operating under for a number of years now. And listen, I know I get this stigma that I'm the guy that proposes a ton of rules every year, and I'm constantly wanting things to change, but that's not even close to the truth. Every rule that I proposed, I'm the one that proposed the 12 to 16, then the 16 to 24 with two separate player pools, and the IDP league, and the fact that being able to keep players for multiple years. And I feel like we've progressed this league. We have made it more competitive. We have made it worth your while winning a championship in this league, compared to just joining some random person off the street, their ESPN league or standard office league, which sucks ass. And, you win a championship, no one cares, because all you did was show up to draft day and put together a team. This league right now is the most competitive it's ever been. But I am challenging all 24 of us to raise the bar yet again. And especially the fact that within 4 years, we've had only two different champions. So I do feel like we need to raise the bar of competition in this league. We need to make it more difficult for teams to succeed, even more so. And by the way to do that is to have one player pool. And I know people are going to flip out about this. And you really should think about this before you vote yay or nay on when voting starts. But essentially what I'm saying is that when I say one player pool, instead of having, let's say Tom Brady in the top shotters, and you got Tom Brady in the Elite 12, there's only one Tom Brady between both conferences, and only one team can have Tom Brady. And your initial thought is, man, that's going to ruin the depth in this league. And sure, yeah, I mean, depth is going to take a hit, but to compensate for that, what will be complementing this rule is that we're going to go from an 18-man roster to a 12-man roster. And let me just paint the picture here of the starting lineup. You would have one quarterback you would own your team, and obviously you can only start one. You would start one running back. You can only have two running backs in your team. You would start one receiver / tight end, and you would have a backup for that as well. You would start one defensive end / defensive tackle with a backup there. You would have 2 linebackers, but you can only start one. And you would have 2 DBs, and you can only start one. But on top of that, you would have 1 extra player that you could have at any position. So essentially, you can have one position where you have 3 players, because we'll have 1 flex that you can use in either offense or defense. That right there, I've already done the research on it. It actually, the depth is not as bad as it may seem when you first look at this. The free agent pool is actually somewhat similar to where it is now in terms of depth. It's still a little thin compared to now, but it does help that a little bit. Also, which this right here excites me. I mean, this right here makes me just want to just buy a plane ticket now for draft day. But we would obviously have to have 1 draft. And when you have, obviously we would never have 24 people on the draft, because we've got 1 person living in Arizona. We got me over here in Oregon. We've got people in North Carolina, South Carolina, up in the Northeast. Dude, draft day, just imagine if we had like 18 of 24 people there if everyone chipped in. Dude, we're talking about having a draft day at Bank of America Stadium, or we're talking about having a draft day party over at the Spartanburg Memorial Auditorium. And we could rent out a place extremely cheap with 18, 20 people chipping in, what, like $20, $10 or so, easily, and have a badass draft party. I just want people to think about that for a little bit. I mean, our draft parties the past year, I mean, they've been good. I talked to Jordan and Cody. I think they were missing like 4 people at their draft or more. That's crazy, dude. Like, that's nuts. Like, that draft party sounds like it was dead. I'm sure
no
it wasn't.
wonder the division over there is so skewed. Half the team that is auto-drafted.
I mean, they have people draft remotely. I know people have things going on. And I'm not saying, if you can't make the draft, you're any less than anyone else, because, you have life and that comes first. Anyways, instead of 5 keepers, you would only have 3 keepers, because the rosters are smaller. You shouldn't. The purpose of the keepers is never be able to keep half your roster anyways. That actually keeps the keeper ratio to roster size the exact same mathematically. So we would go from 5 keepers to 3 keepers. And again, I will say this again, it is raising the competition in this league. Listen, if I'm a Top Shot owner, I want you to look at Cody's team now and try to tell me your team's going to be able to match that talent next year. The only team that can do it is Mafali, because his team is built for that. It's the longevity of being able to compete with Cody in that division and in that conference. If you're an Elite 12 team, and I'm looking over there, man, they've just proved it back-to-back years that no one is going to be able to compete with Cody in that conference. Therefore, his rosters are always going to be, they're going to have better players in their team year after year after year. And as an Elite 12 team, as an Elite 12 owner, honestly, you're probably not going to have a chance of toppling Cody in that conference. And I'm not saying Cody's going to be a perennial league champion every year, because I know things are going to happen. But I'm just saying the competition has proven the past 2 years that, man, something's got to change. Because if we keep having the same people at the very top, that shows that either some people are just not bringing their A game year after year like they should be, or something's got to change. So, again, this is going to basically it's going to raise competition, 1 player pool instead of 2. It's going to lower the roster size a little bit, but it's also going to be able to spread players between positions. Right now, we don't really have that many caps for positions, so someone may have 6 linebackers on their team and then no depth anywhere else, and therefore it creates a shortage of linebackers in other places. Overall, I think this will make the league healthier. I think it's going to raise the bar, and I think we're really going to enjoy the benefits of this long term.
Can I jump in on here, Pat?
Yeah, sorry, that was a mouthful. It was a big rule change, so I had to make sure I explained everything and I didn't leave anything out.
Right,
no, feel free.
I'm all for this. I mean, we have been fighting, headbutting, like just backyard brawling in the Elite 12 to get a chance to get in the playoffs. And it doesn't matter who gets up there, they're going to get beat by Cody. So it's like it's losing the whole purpose and the fun of it. I mean, yeah, it's like we get to do this, we get to play fantasy football, but to what point? Just to lose to Cody. Like I said, he'll spread out the competition. It would also help with rivalries. A lot of you guys don't know each other, and you don't know the other conference. This will allow you to interact. It will allow you to get and create your own rivalries with each other. And I mean, dude, I'm all for this. I really feel like, I mean, the NFL has one. I mean, there's only one Drew Brees, only one Tom Brady, so it works. I mean, it also gives you a chance to start these guys that, with as much depth as we have, like a Valdez Scantley or a Justin Jackson in the playoffs. A lot of these guys, like, you want to start them, but you got too many good guys on your team. It's like, I can't drop anybody to start him, but, I want to. But, like, this will allow you to have those opportunities. And it'll get spread out so everybody does not have a all-pro, fantasy team.
Well, and here's my thing. Like, first of all, the whole part, I know right now it sounds like the whole purpose of this rule change is to take something away from Cody, and it's definitely not. That's not even why I proposed this rule at all. Again, it's to raise competition of the league itself. And if your argument against this is that this is going to make it too hard to win a championship, man, you're in the wrong league to begin with, and you go join your office league or your dorm room league because you obviously don't belong. The whole purpose of the league is to make it one of the more competitive leagues out there and make it worth your while when you get that trophy, when you win that money. Right, damn, man, I really earned this. Like, I really beat 24 other people and not just 12 people to get this trophy. And that's what this rule is doing, is making it an actual, even more of a challenge and more worth your while and your time in this league. And I hope that's why everyone's here is for that.
That is a doozy of a rule change for sure. So there's a lot of that. You might have to write an article or something if you want to get talk about it a little more. But so we've out of time today. But yeah, that's a successful show. I hope everyone liked our first off-season show. I hope that everyone kind of got the rule proposals and kind of can think through them. And again, if there's anyone out there that wants to have theirs discussed, feel free to let us know. We'd love to talk about them more. Otherwise, we're just gonna keep bringing ours out here and talking about them. So. But guys, do you have anything else before we hop off? Anything else you want to mention or say or anything?
No, if you have any feedback for any of the rule changes we talked about, any discussion, leave a comment on the video itself on YouTube or put something on the league chat. Put it in the group chat. I do, by the way, want to start a interconference group chat. I feel like it would just be easier to get announcements out to the league as a whole, because it seems like people are kind of glued more to the notification on their phone more so than the league chat to begin with. So I feel like that'd just be a better way of getting things out. But no, like I said, any feedback at all, good, bad, positive, whatever.
Awesome. Isaac, anything from you?
No, I did kind of go a little rant about that stuff. So, like you said, and I'm in agreement to it. I mean,
it's late. It's late. It's late our time. We're recording this late on a Friday night. With that, we'll sign off, and we'll be back on next week for the second episode. We've got a league schedule. Should we release our league schedule, guys? Like our off-season schedule for the? Yeah, should we release it
for the podcast? No, I don't know. That's a good question. We'll have to think about that. By the way, like James is hinting at right now, we actually have a schedule already built for. I wouldn't say. Well, obviously we haven't finished it yet for the entire off season for the podcast. But man, we're already halfway through February with the schedule, and it's looking pretty good. I'm not even gonna lie.
It looks great. I'm excited. I want to do all the episodes right now.
Yeah.
Like right now. There's a lot of content coming.
No, we can throw out a couple. We'll throw out a couple cherries. Like one thing we're talking about bringing in is a top 10. So I'm sure you've seen it on NFL Network. They do like top 10, this and that of all time. We're planning on doing the same thing. And to start it off, we're going to kick it off in January. Here in, I think, 2 weeks. I'm not looking at the schedule right now. But it's going to be top 10 LCC rivalries of all time. So a lot there. And I can already think of a number of rivalries that stick out. But no, stay tuned. That's going to be a really cool segment we're bringing in.
We got LCC trivia. We've got top 10. We got mock drafts. We've got top 10 games of all time. We got a lot of stuff coming this offseason. So it's gonna be awesome. But with that, we'll sign off, and we'll be back on next week. And again, feel free to comment, share anything with us you want to during the week. And if you'd like to get on, let us know. All right. Bye.
Peace.
God.
Bye, girl.